Well, the Georgia Bulldogs are going to get listed as a four-touchdown favorite over the Missouri Tigers. This has become really a perilous moment for Missouri, a team that is just not good right now. Suffered a really crushing loss on the road at Auburn, a game they should have won. It was just a wild ending, but that's not going to make things any better when number one Georgia comes to town. The Dogs still the consensus number one team in the country, and Missouri's looked bad this year. They have. I mean, when you look at just the flip flop performance of the first 2 weeks for them, an early game against Louisiana Tech where they scored 52 points, and then just totally laying an egg against Kansas State, a team that's not horrible, but you can't get beat 40-12. And then doubling up a Christian, a one double A's Christian school, um, which I can't remember the name of it. I know it's a Christian school, Abilene Christian, and then the loss to Auburn yesterday was inexplicable. A year ago, Georgia was favored by almost 40 points at home against Missouri. I think this is a similar situation. That was a noon game. I don't know if you remember that or not. Georgia got off kind of to a slow start against Missouri. Mizzou came down and kicked the field goal, and at the end of the first quarter, I think it was either 3-0 Missouri or 7-3 Georgia, whatever it was. Hey, pick up DAWGSTRUCTION today. Then you won't forget these things. The Missouri game I was not one of Georgia's best games, but they did take care of business, 43-6 against the Missouri Tigers. This was a couple of days after the Braves won the World Series. I don't know if you remember that, and this was the Mark Richt celebration. Also, Nolan Smith with a block punt in that game. DAWGSTRUCTION is a great way to help us. 80 pages of hardcover celebratory things. I think this line is fine. I would take Georgia. Now, what's happened here is that um, on Sunday, someone knocked it down a little bit, maybe 2 points, and it just came back hard. I mean, somebody was trying to get this thing knocked down to about 25 or 26 points, and just either the betting public or the sharps or someone came in and said no. Um, I've been out there every game that Georgia's played except 16. I had a medical situation in the family to deal with at the time, and it's not a hard place to play. It's basically like everywhere else in the league. I think the hardest part, and you hear me complain about this a lot, is the travel. Well, for the kids, that makes no difference to them. If they get on a plane, they could be going to Arkansas, you know, Kentucky, Missouri. It doesn't matter if they're playing this game in Middle Earth or not. But I do like where Georgia's at coming into this game because they did not play as crisp as you would have liked against Kent State. I think we've discussed that a lot. And it wasn't, I mean, Kent State wasn't doing anything. Georgia turned the ball over 3 times. Now, I've got another video coming up about, where Georgia's at in terms of everything. Um, if they continue to turn the ball over 3 times a game, you got a real problem on your hands. But they're not, they're not going to. So that's the part to me that's just like you know whenever you play a game, you turn it over that much. Yeah, you can lose, but like lately, Missouri has not been getting the job done. Against the line. Yesterday against Auburn, they did. They did not cover against Abilene Christian. Uh, they did not cover against Kansas State. Louisiana Tech, they did. So those are the two games since like 2020. They've only covered 6 times. So it's not been impressive. I mean, they have consistently underperformed with the exception of a couple of games here and there. Now, I will say that they do from time to time step up and play a good game. I mean, they beat South Carolina a season ago. I, that was a home game for them. That was a good, that was a quality win. They basically sent Dan Mullen packing a week later in Columbia. where they were getting 9 points. So in both cases, they were underdogs at home. I'm not sure why they were against South Carolina at the time, but um, generally speaking, they have not done a good job of covering Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi State, Central Michigan, Kentucky, Southeast Missouri, Boston College, that bad loss. Um, the Tennessee game, North Texas they covered, Texas A&M they did not, Vanderbilt they did not. I do not trust Missouri in any way possible. They are untrustworthy beyond belief, and I think, and this is something I'm going to talk about in a future video. Okay, is that Georgia is being extremely efficient in terms of scoring. Like, they are scoring a lot. When you look at their drive charts, they basically score. And yesterday, they either scored or turned it over. Well, they're not going to continue to turn the ball over 3 times. I mean, as I discussed yesterday, the one play from Kent State was just an outstanding individual play, and I think the throw from Stetson, those two, if you have 2 turnovers in a game, I don't think that's a big deal because Georgia got one back and yada yada yada. It was the Lab McConkey turnover while trying to field the punt. They just fair catch it and be done with it, because that sent you from having a -1 turnover margin, which for Georgia is pretty much irrelevant, to -2. And Georgia, since 2010, in a -2 situation, they have only won 5 games with -2. Okay, turnover margin. It just shows that you can't do it that way. That's a real problem. I talk about this in Leggy's thoughts right here, talking about -2. Since 2010, Georgia has had a turnover margin of -2 or worse 16 times. The Dogs are 5-11 in those games. Get a load of this. 4 of those 16 games kicked off at noon in Athens. Okay, so they're just groggy, I guess, at that point. But it's up to them it's up to the players to get the job done on that front. We're going to be promoting something real quick a lot. You can see me and Ryan Curley. We will be at Paloma Park in Athens, 4 o'clock Friday before Auburn game. That's during happy hour. We will see you there. Now listen, Paloma Park is a extremely spacious place in Athens. I'm going to give you the address right now, but you can just type in Paloma Park, 235 West Washington Street. So again, if you're coming from campus, you turn left on Washington. Like, you go up Clayton, turn left on Washington, you'll be there, I don't know, in 5 minutes. It's very nice, I have to say. We've eaten there several times. I recommend the chicken tacos. But we will be talking about the Dogs. The Major League Baseball playoffs will be going on at the time. So if you want to see us, if you want to get books signed in person, if you want to do social media shout outs, we will be there at Paloma Park from 4 to 7 on the Friday of the Auburn game. This is not the only time we're going to do it, but it's going to be 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock for the Auburn game, okay, on the Friday. We don't know when that Auburn game is going to be yet, but it's going to be at 3:30 on CBS. If it's not, I would be straight up floored. I mean, when you look at just what's out there, it is screaming. I mean, Texas A&M has saved that primetime matchup with Alabama. It was always going to be that way, but Auburn and Georgia, there's just not a lot of other great games. Texas A&M and Alabama, you got Mississippi State, Arkansas. The luster of that's going to be taken out now. Florida, Missouri, there's no way that's going to be on CBS. Same thing for Kentucky and South Carolina. LSU, Tennessee, now that could be the one game that could knock Georgia off of playing at 3:30 into a noon game with Auburn. Now that's the one game, but we'll just see, okay? And then you've got I don't know. Part of it will depend. CBS is not gonna there's only so many chances to put Georgia on. And a Georgia Alabama back to back, which are two of the three most watched teams in college football, I really find it hard to believe, considering who they're playing, that CBS won't get Georgia Auburn. I mean, I'd be surprised. Now, it's not totally locked in stone yet because of Tennessee and LSU. That's a good game. Um, but I think it will be then. Now, if you don't get it then there's all sorts of situations that you could be in, but it would probably be noon. That's what I would say. But I have to tell you, I don't know if the over under has come out yet for this game, but I do like. Let me see if there's an over under anywhere. There actually is. 55 is what it's starting at. And if you just do the math there, you're looking at, man, a lopsided game. You're looking at something like 38. Let me see, maybe 38 to 14 ish. Even that would be a little 41 to 14. Yeah, 40. So ah, you're looking at something like Georgia 41 to 14, which to me, I think they're probably going to score. I think it's going to be more lopsided than that. And I'll go into the reasons why in future videos, but Georgia has just played so well offensively. And if you go back and watch the game, which a lot of y'all probably didn't have a great chance to watch, it wasn't. I mean, Georgia didn't play well, but the defense played pretty well. And, essentially Kent State had two drives, one play, and a fumble on the 20. And that's how they scored their points. They scored literally every shot that they could really get to score, they did. And that's not always going to be the case. So you can't take away what happened, but I think if you look at Georgia's defense, I mean, there were just multiple times that Georgia got the ball with the ability to score because the defense only played for 3 downs or 4 downs or whatever. And in the fourth quarter, you really saw it where Georgia was grinding them down. I like Georgia in this game. The under has hit consistently for Georgia lately in Georgia games. Let me just tell you what that number was. I mean, everybody's waiting for Jeff Collins to get fired. But I can't find it now, but it's been significant lately. Oh, it was in my preview here for the Missouri game. No, not that one. The other one. The under has hit in the last 6 games for Georgia. So the 4 of this game and then the Alabama Michigan game from a season ago. I think the under is going to be because Missouri doesn't score. That's my guess.